Okay, we're live. I think we are. Yep, here we are.
Hey guys, Dennis here, and we got Alex and Dan, and we apologize for coming on so late. We do have a special guest tonight, and we have been chatting with him. We're excited to have him on here tonight, and we have Patrick from OK Diver. So let's go ahead and bring Patrick up into the stage here and get you all properly introduced.
Are we live?
Yep.
Yep.
How y'all doing?
And
How are you?
Patrick, it is good to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Can you guys see Patrick? He didn't pop up on mine.
Yeah, he's on.
He's on. I can see him.
Yep,
Okay.
me too.
All
So,
right.
guys, we want to give Patrick the opportunity to explain to you guys, OK Diver, what he does, who he is, and then we will jump into a conversation after that. So, Patrick, if you want, go ahead and introduce OK Diver.
My name's Patrick. I'm known as OK Diver to a lot of the locals and some people on social media. I like the waters. I specialize in blackwater diving. If you can't see your hand in front of your face, that's where I feel at home. I specialize in underwater sonar. I have been scanning a lot of our local rivers and lakes looking for vehicles. I have found a lot of OK Diver and me and my buddies, we have found a lot of vehicles that we know where roughly 30 something vehicles are underwater. Sorry, kind of new to this whole thing, so it's kind of, I'm watching comments and trying to talk, and I'm just a little new to it. Sorry.
So, Patrick, what got you interested in what you do? How did you start off in this type of work?
Knowing that I have the ability to go to the places that nobody else wants to go. I mean, and a lot of those places I found led me to really dark, murky waters. And either you can dive in those waters or you can't. Black water diving is not something, in my opinion, it's not something that can really be trained in a classroom or in a pool. Mm-hmm. It's something that you have to do. You have to get the experience at.
But I mean, actually, like, how did you start off? Did you just start off diving at a young age as a hobby and you liked it? I mean, like, how did...
No, I started following the Adventures with Purpose movement. And I've kind of started following them in the very beginning, and I watched them and seen what all they were doing and seeing how they were finding missing people in the water. And I'm thinking, well, we got a lot of dark, murky water in Oklahoma. And at the time, I didn't realize there was a diving community in Oklahoma. And so I just knew I wanted to get into diving because I knew what I was being pushed towards doing or being called to do, I guess you could say. And one thing led to the other. I got open water certified through one of our local dive shops. And then I met probably one of the best families I've ever had when I become certified. I've got a really good camaraderie family with quite a few of our local divers. We all kind of look at each other as family. The ones at the bug bit anyway, you know, the ones that do more than just vacation dive 1 or 2 times a year anyway.
Yeah.
When people think of diving, they don't really think of diving in Oklahoma or diving inland. They just think of ocean diving. And so, but they don't realize you can dive lakes, rivers, and just about anything that has water. I mean,
Yeah.
dive in your pool in your backyard if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But like I said, I started getting into it because AWP, I got certified, open water, and the bug bit me. I wanted to get certified in every stress and the stress and rescue stuff. I wanted to, if it was something that I felt could help me out with experience with what I was doing, I went and took that class, took the course, and did what I had to get that cert. And I know to some people it may just be cert collecting or card collecting, but in my opinion, it gives me the basics for some of these experiences or some of these things I do. And like I said, it's just the basics. And then sometimes it's not just it's not the basics. It's just things that I feel like it could make me be beneficial to me if I do it, because I feel there's something in there that I can learn or do that will make me a better diver for what I do for the blackwater diving. I knew that with the style of diving I was getting into, that it was going to be a unique one, because, you know, and when you think of diving, you think of crystal clear water. You don't think of dark brown water that'll stain your clothes when you go swimming in it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of our lakes and rivers are known for doing that. I mean, known for staining your clothes, having a brown tint to them when you get out and you can't get it out. No matter how many times you wash it. But I just started learning everything and then getting all the experience I could. Every chance I had to go dive, every time I had the funds or the extra ability to go dive, I went and dove. And I didn't always have the funds to drive to clear water. And so that left me to limited visibility or zero visibility. And I eventually funded myself and was able to sell some things and buy me some sonar. And I bought me a portable unit so I could put on my kayak or put on one of my bigger boats, or even put on a cart around boat docks and stuff like that. Since I paid for it out of my own pocket, I don't feel so guilty using it for fishing. So and that's why I can put it on a dock cart. But it's my unit's really versatile, and that's what's really nice about it. But I bought it and then I started using it, and I got thousands of hours of screen time of doing nothing but looking at that screen. And then diving on anomalies is what I call anything I find in the water. I'll call anomaly. I have, if I locate an anomaly and I can't 100% identify it from the surface, or even in the beginning, even if I like, oh, I know exactly what that is. That's a concrete pillar for a boat dock or something, a sea anchor. And I would dive on it to confirm. So that way the image I was seeing on that screen, I could feel it with my hands, and I could put those pictures and what I'm feeling, and I could, yeah, that's what I'm seeing, or no, that's not what this is. This is a washing machine. You know, I've dove on stuff before. I thought, well, that may be a sea anchor, and turned out to be a washing machine or a refrigerator or something. So, but it allowed me to get the experience of looking at that screen. And when it comes to sonar, that's what you need the time with, is that screen. You need to be looking at that screen. I mean, YouTube videos will only show you so much about sonar imaging and sonar scanning and stuff. You have to get out and get the experience. You have to put the boots on the ground. And that's what I started doing. And it's all been self-funded. I've had a few small donations that I'm very grateful for and very appreciative of.
Oh, we lost Dennis. So I guess a question would be, when you are certified as a diver, do you still have to, like, once a year go and do classes to keep your certification? So
good thing you asked. I'm actually an assistant instructor at one of our local dive shops. Shout out to Dive Site here in Tulsa. I help assist with some of their classes there. So what happens is, if you go and become a level 1 diver, now they call it open water level 1 diver. If you go and become a level 1 diver, most of the time, that's usually where most individuals will stay, just because they're only going and diving while they're on vacation or on a cruise or something like that with their family once or twice a year.
Yeah.
In salt water. And so if you don't dive for like say 6 or 7 months, I would highly recommend you to take a refresher course just so you can stay up to date with the current standards and procedures, and so that way you're aware, still up to date and aware with how your equipment functions and operates.
Yeah.
So, but if you dive like me and you're pretty much diving multiple times a week, year round, winter, summer, fall, then I maintain a lot of experience because I'm actively doing it.
Yeah.
I do stuff like whenever the organizations offer courses or start offering courses that I feel is beneficial to me, like last year, I guess about 2 years ago, they started SSI started offering a solo diver course, and it pretty much teaches you redundancy everything. This is pretty much how I dove anyway, but it just teaches me redundancy. Well, that's why I was diving anyway. But in the diving world, it just helps me talk politics if I have that certification. It just keeps the politics down for me. And I don't like talking politics, so I don't even try to talk them. It just keeps the politics down for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, for most of these people don't understand or may not understand the types of waters that you talk about diving because they're not really used to what Oklahoma waters are like. What our ground is mostly clay.
Yeah.
So if you're able to explain to them what it's like diving in something that murky, that hard to see.
Well, I mean, that hard to see. Like, so when you start diving in black water or zero visibility or even limited visibility, because a lot of times the water can make you feel claustrophobic. If you start scuba diving and you're not claustrophobic, it could make some people realize they're claustrophobic just because of the pressure of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that factor. Then, like with me, I dive the limited visibility or the zero visibility. That would give a lot of people high anxiety because they're so used to being able to see what they are doing. They're so used to being able to see their consoles or their gauges for their diving tank or their diving equipment. And now you're taking all those factors out. You can't see that. It's like how I used to explain this to a lot of people. I'm an alien in an alien world. Nobody there speaks my language. And the only effect we have on that world is our trash.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm down there, it's like painting your mask black, spray painting your mask where you can't see through it, and then functioning, going underwater, like there's zero visibility. You don't know what's on the bottom. You don't know if it's a sand bottom. You don't know if it's a clay bottom. You don't know if it's a mud bottom. Depending on what's surrounding the lake, it's going to give you an idea. Most of our lakes are mud or clay bottomed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're river fed. And a lot of our rivers are murky waters. And so these lakes are already dirty. They're being fed by dirty water. So there's literally no visibility. And then I have to be able to ascent and descent in the water safely, because when you're diving, you can't go up or down too fast because that can cause DCS. I may have said that wrong. It may be the wrong thing. I shouldn't try to go down that road on naming what it is, but it can cause you to have problems and get disoriented by going up and down too fast in the water column. And that's what you don't want to be disoriented in zero visibility water. Well, then next thing is you have to know at all times where you're at in this water column. You got to know how deep you are, whether you're going up or you're going down. And you have to do all that in zero visibility. You can it's like sticking your phone up to your face right here, or even right here, and you can't read it, you can't see it, you can't do nothing. I mean, you have to know. And so, like, what I do for that is I use a dive computer. A dive computer has audio alerts or audio alarms that I can set that let me know it starts beeping at me. So I hear a beep, 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 beep in the water. That beeping allows me to know if I'm going up or down too fast. Then I have to try to roughly maintain and know where I'm at in the water column depth wise. And how I do that is usually with a series of knots on my rope. And that way I know where I'm at. So that way in these limited visibility, if I'm down on the bottom for, say, for example, I go to 80 feet and I have to perform a safety stop on the way back up or multiple safety stops, then I have to know exactly where to stop in that water column. And I have to know for exactly how long I'm sitting there and just breathing so I can off gas.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, I've recently done some deep recoveries over in Grand Lake of the Cherokees at 100 feet. And I was down on the bottom for 13 minutes. I had 12 minutes of safety stops that I had to do. And, you know, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't have to do my safety stops for 12 minutes, but I always go above and beyond. I always go over the necessary time. It's better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
And so if it's a 10-minute safety stop, I'll go to 12 minutes, 13 minutes, as long as I have the air to. Let me also clarify that. But yeah, whenever I'm going on the deep dives, I always go above and beyond, take more than enough air with me. I usually have 2 80 cubic foot tanks on my back, and then I have a 50 cubic foot tank strung across my chest. And I've done a lot of dives. I've never got below 2,000 PSI in the doubles on my back, which is good.
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop me from carrying those doubles. That's not going to stop me from carrying that 50 across my chest.
Safety's number one.
Safety, safety, safety. I've had other divers, because like if you go to coastal towns or ocean diving and go out on a dive charter or something like that, a lot of times they'll put a stage bottle hanging below the boat at a safety stop at around 20 foot, 15 to 20 feet. And that's all nice and all, because you can see it. You can see it over there. Swim to it. If you're out of air, swim to that tank, get your air, and start your safety stop in an emergency situation. Well, I mean, I can't see. So if it's hanging under my boat over there or hanging on my line someplace and I get tangled up and I have to come up elsewhere away from my lines,
Right.
then I don't have to worry about, do I have enough air? Do I have enough air? Am I going to make it to my spare tank? I don't have to worry about it because I carry it with me.
So it's definitely a lot of precautions and being prepared. And
Safety, safety, safety.
I've never been diving in my whole life. I don't like going and swimming in ponds, rivers, nothing. I don't like dark water whatsoever. Go ahead.
If I'm staying under a certain depth, like most of the time, if I'm staying within shallower than 50 feet, and as long as I've scanned it with my sonar and I know what's down there and stuff, I don't gear up that extreme, because at worst case scenario, I can bail out of my equipment and leave it at the bottom and come to the surface without it from those depths. Not going to say that I won't have to go to the hospital. I'm not going to say stuff like that. But if I feel like there's a chance of me getting stuck or something, then I do take extra safety. I do bring air, and then I have safety divers. And then safety divers, that safety diver's got to know exactly what's going on with his diver or with their diver. And so I have to be able to signal to that safety diver while I'm down there on the bottom and they can't see me. And so we do that through a series of either pulls on a line, or they wait for me to signal them through SMB or something like that. I'll do a signal with tugs through an SMB. And then I got signals with my safety divers that if I have to signal a safety diver to come to me, they know to bring me air. Worst case scenario, because in my 90% of the dives I do, if something does happen, I just need air. I'll get myself untangled.
Mm-hmm.
I know to stay calm. I carry a lot of knives. I just need air sometimes. And, and knock on wood, I've never been to a predicament to where I've had to have a backup diver bring me air. I try to avoid all that stuff at all costs. But with what I do, there's a plan A, there's a plan B, there's a plan C. And then sometimes I'm like, do I need to have a plan D just in case? I feel like I should. But
I was another question I'd like to ask is how many times do you get into a predicament where you might get caught up in something, whether you get caught up in trees or trash on the bottom?
that's the day old question. Oklahoma, we're known for our fishing. We're known for big catfish and lots of fish. Everybody loves fishing. Everybody loves their fish. Everybody's got grandfather stories about when they was fishing that river or that lake with their grandfather.
Yeah.
For years, people's been getting hung up in our lakes and rivers, and they snap off their lines with monofilament. It's almost a weekly occurrence that I get hung up. But I know I've been hung up to where I've had lures stuck in my arm through my wetsuit.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I know that I can't panic. I can't freak out, because if I freak out, that's going to hurt my arm more. So
Yeah.
I've got to stay calm, and then I have to reach one of my knives that I carry. And I've had cases to where I was thanking someone upstairs that I was carrying 4 knives, especially here recently. I couldn't get to 3 of my main 3. I couldn't get to knife A, I couldn't get to knife B, and I couldn't get to knife C. I was glad for knife B. And but I was by myself out fun diving, and I got tangled with monofilament really bad. It took me about 20 minutes. I had to take my gear off, and it took me about 20 minutes to get all that monofilament off me in 0 visibility.
Oh, wow.
And with my gear off, I had to take off my BC with my tank, pull it around to where it's in front of me, and I'm having to cut the monofilament that's attached to it, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Now, there was a question in the chat. They wanted to know if you live near Dennis, which he lives in Oklahoma, but they also had a second part of that question. Would you be teaming up soon?
I will team up with anybody as long as I have the funds to. And I pretty much fund all my search efforts out of my own pocket. Like I've mentioned before, I've had some donations, but they were smaller donations. I've been donated material items, but I've had a couple monetary smaller donations, and I've used those for searching and scanning. And then as I have the extra funds, I search and scan.
And
I'm sorry, Dennis. Go ahead.
I was going to jump in here real quick. The link to OK Diver on YouTube is down in the video description. Please go over and subscribe. He is getting very close to the 1,000 subscriber mark. And to be able to grow his YouTube is going to help him tremendously to be able to help these families. So please go to the link, go over, subscribe to his channel. The link to his Facebook page is also down in the video description.
That's awesome. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Yeah, I pretty much don't say no. And that's why a lot of people like to call me. A lot of organizations and stuff call me because I don't say no. I've had times to where I probably should have said no. And I don't have a problem calling off a dive if something doesn't feel right. But it wasn't those kind of feelings. So I just don't say no. It's like I said before, I'm being called there for a reason. Big man upstairs gave me the ability to do what I do. And so this is how I return that favor, is helping out and doing what I can for pretty much anybody who needs a diver or needs someone to scan with underwater sonar.
Yeah. So how far are you willing to travel? If someone calls you from out of state, do you have, if funds, I know funds always plays a part in this type of work, but
if funds wasn't an option, there's not a corner of this earth I wouldn't go to help out for a missing person. As long as if funds wasn't an option, but unfortunately this day and age, funds are a big play for everybody's day in life. So
yeah.
Now, I do have a question for you. I know
Yes,
you're
sir.
familiar with Oklahoma pretty well. What do you know about Arcadia Lake?
I'll tell you, we have a lot of bodies of water in Oklahoma. I'm familiar with it a little bit, but as far as actually scanning that particular body of water, I can't think of a time I've been on there with a boat and scanned it. But I know that I've received a lot of messages, and I say a lot of messages. Probably, if I had to guess, I'd have to go back and look, but I'd probably say somewhere around 50 or 60 messages. I'm on the live right now. Sorry, love you. My daughter come in. Sorry.
Oh, it happens.
Waters do that all the time.
Yeah, but what was I saying? Sorry.
You had multiple people reaching out to you about Arcadia Lake.
It's been a minute since I've specifically heard that name, but I know that I've had multiple messages that people have sent OK Diver stuff saying there's missing stuff, or I'm not going to say missing people or missing persons or anything like that because I don't know for sure, but I know people have told me it's a dark murky lake.
There is a case that we do have that is he went missing from a campground at Arcadia Lake.
With a vehicle or just a body?
They found his vehicle. They haven't ruled it as foul play yet, but the circumstances to the case does lead to foul play. But his truck was found off Indian Meridian Road on railroad tracks, which is a good distance away from where Arcadia Lake is.
So let me tell you how I kind of think about stuff like this, or how I analyze cases that are brung up to me. Almost daily, I'm having cases brung to my attention, and if I believed every story every person told me, there'd be a lot of crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
But usually what I do is I analyze that. Okay, I look and see, is he missing with it, or is the individual missing with the vehicle? If they're missing with the vehicle, then yes, now we have a big target to look for. So that's where me and my sonar plays a big role.
Right.
So now that the vehicle has been located, so we got to take the vehicle out of it. Now we have to, I'm sorry if anybody's on here, I don't mean this to offend anyone, but this is how I think about cases. Is okay, now the vehicle has been found. He's still missing. How long has he been missing? Has he been missing more than 3 or 4 days or a week? Because at that point, the human body will bloat and float. So his body should have been surfaced by now, if that makes sense, if it's been over a couple of weeks.
It does make sense.
With that being said, if his body the things that wouldn't cause his body to surface, did he have brick shoes? Was he put in a barrel? I say he. I don't know if it was a he or she. I'm sorry for speculating. Those are things that could cause them to not resurface in a lake for an extended period of time anyway. Then I would start looking into cases and reading everything and anything I can find about it to see, is there a mention of a barrel? Is there a mention of brick shoes? Is there mention of a body of water? I mean, if there's a mention of a body of water specifically and we have a target to look for, now we have, so that's how I have to analyze them.
Right.
And so at that point, if there's no missing vehicle, the chances of me finding an individual body is very slim, usually because I'm coming in months, years.
Yeah, it's like
sometimes
3 years old almost.
So at that point, we have to, if we have a body of water that's specifically being pointed at besides just Arcadia Lake, I mean, it's, which I can go scan it, but again, I have to do it as funds allow me. At that point, then I have to come in and I have to look at maps. I have to look at what maps look like 3 years ago or the year that the individual went missing. Then I have to locate all trails, all vehicles, anything that remotely come close to that body of water that's being associated. I scan anything that can remotely get close to see if there's anything that could have accidentally come off or could have one night may have vanished off there or something. And I search all boat ramps, anything that gets close to the water, any road or trail or anything where a vehicle or something like that can get close to the body of water. That's where I come in and I'll scan all of those. if I'm scanning an entire body of water. That can sometimes, depending on the size of the body of water, I've had bodies of water that I can, city lakes, I can go out and scan like smaller city lakes, and I can do a couple of them in a day usually.
Right.
Bigger lakes, kind of like Keystone Lake, it would take me probably 3 or 4 days to do a lake like Keystone Lake. Grand Lake, it would take me a month, every bit of a month, to scan Grand Lake, all the possibilities that's there. But back to the Arcadia case, if we have for sure indication of what we're looking for in this body of water, then yes, I can come. I mean, my sonar, I can tell you if it's a barrel, I can tell you if it's a brick, I can tell you if it's a tree, I can tell you if the fish is a bass or a striper. I mean, with the bass and the striper,
there hasn't been no talk of no barrels, no concrete shoes or anything like that. That's just where he went missing from.
Right on. I mean, at that point, have they put on, which I'm sure they have, but at that point, I'd be wondering, have they put in a thorough terrain search? Because around a lot of our lakes, there's, little caves, little valleys, little stuff. You step on the wrong rock, you're going to fall 15, 20 feet, break your neck, and nobody will ever see you until some hunter discovers your bones a year or two later.
Yeah, Oklahoma Metro Search and Rescue, they've done multiple searches. I've done multiple searches around Arcadia Lake, around where the truck was located. But
this is what makes doing searches this far out so complicated, is you've had multiple years of leaf foliage fall on the ground. Then, not to mention, depending on how remote it is, and even sometimes they don't even depend on how remote it is, you have wildlife, foxes, wolves, or coyotes, stray dogs, stuff like that. They find somebody lying, they're going to go up and pull an arm off and may drag it 100 yards from where the original body went down at or something. And I'm just saying that, I'm speculating. Hopefully nobody's out there in the woods, but that's kind of what you run into, is you start running into that complication. So if you're not out there with a backpack leaf blower blowing all the leaves away for a mile all the way around that lake, it's hard to do a good scan on the lake.
The only advantage we have is he's got metal plates in his jaw and his leg.
So that means if he's within
Metal
6
detector.
inches, we can find him with a metal detector.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but so the best option in that case is to bring in a cadaver dog and to search everything with a cadaver dog, because a cadaver dog can hint on those scents, that so you're not out there with a backpack blower, or so you're not, wasting a lot of unnecessary time, which I'm not going to consider any search efforts unnecessary or wasted time. I'm not doing that, but I'm just trying to figure out what's more efficient for this, because, realistically, we all can go run around in the woods all day, every day, and not find nothing. But you bring in a dog, a cadaver dog, they'll find stuff that you walked over and didn't realize was there.
Now, Oklahoma Metro did bring in their cadaver dogs on 3 locations out in that area that were locations of interest. But the only time they hit on something, it was ruled animal.
Ruled animals, yeah. That, unfortunately, too. Which, I hear stories of a lot of really good cadaver dogs that can supposedly overlook animals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm not saying they can't. According to some of these YouTube videos you can see, they look pretty impressive if they can really do what they're showing.
Right.
Definitely.
So I've got a question, and it probably will be a question that sooner or later was going to be asked. But when it comes to finding remains that are in the water, how much difference? I mean, I would presume that if there was a body in water that was not in a vehicle, every creature that is in a lake or water has ate the flesh, everything. So we're down to bones. And then how, if you're down there feeling around, I mean, how, and you can't see, how do you make the decision? Or am I touching sticks?
I've got really good over the years of me doing limited visibility. I can pretty much close my eyes and tell you exactly what I'm touching. I mean, I've touched lots of things down there. Unfortunately, I'm right there on the bottom where all the nasty bacterias are. And so as soon as even if it's silted out or limited visibility or zero visibility, you touch that bottom, what little bit of shine you could get with a flashlight, you just lost it because you silted out the water even worse, and now you can't see nothing. So at that point, I've just got really good at just being able to touch stuff and roughly analyze what it is. Unfortunately, I've touched more human remains than I want to talk about, and it's pretty distinctive. Bones are pretty distinctive from sticks and stuff. I mean, I'll tell you the number one way, if it's a stick that I'm afraid that may possibly be a bone, unfortunately, the number one thing I do is I break it. If it breaks, you're going to know immediately if it's a bone structure, or you're going to know if it's a stick structure. But before that break happens, you should be able to tell if it's wood or if it's something you need to bring to the surface to get a further examination on. Let's put it that way.
So can you explain then by you saying breaking it, what is it that if it's a stick, does it not break as easy as a bone? Is it a perfect snap crack? Or... Well,
and okay, so knock on wood, I've not really broke any human bones because I've always been able to tell that, oh, this is a hand, or oh, this is a femur, or oh, this is an arm, or oh, this is a jaw, and keep in mind, it's all zero visibility.
Yeah.
And so the number one thing with what I do is the number one thing that will destroy you is your own brain. Is you're down there and you can't see nothing. Your mind will play tricks on you fast. And if you don't control it and keep it under control and keep it from running wild and making you think there's a big monster behind you, that's a lot. That's the hardest part about what I do, is the mental side about it. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a grown man, but I do a lot of crying because of what I do. And I put myself here for a reason. And I don't mean I'm crying like in a bad way. It's always cries of joy, but it's emotional. So especially, every time I go out scanning and searching for an organization or someone, nobody ever wants to find a missing person. I mean, every time I go scanning for vehicles, I don't want to find a missing person. I don't. I pray that I don't. But if I do, he put me there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. So unfortunately, whenever I'm out scanning, when we locate vehicles or anomalies from the surface, we'll say vehicles because, I mean, if it's a vehicle, I'm diving, and you can pretty much tell if it's a vehicle. You can tell if it's a car, truck, SUV. You can tell if it's a four-wheeler. I mean, depending on how motorcycles land, you can tell if it's a motorcycle even. But it's nobody knows anything about it until you dive on it and verify it or ID it and clear it. And unfortunately, I found that there's a lot of vehicles that our authorities know about that's underwater. And they're leaving there, they say, which, I mean, more power to them. Okay. But it's.
And when you, I guess when you say that, is that something where A, they don't want to deal with the situation, B, they really know, C, there's corruption and they're leaving it there because there's.
So I'll tell you, like I tell everybody, I'm not a speculation person. I'm not going to sit here and try to make up conspiracies or this or that. Each their own. I can say what I think, but it's completely what I think. But at the end of the day, it doesn't get me anywhere, I mean, so I don't want to speculate. I don't want to make anybody look bad or anything like that. It just, yeah. I wish they could pull them all, but we have a lot of fishing guides in every state, not just Oklahoma, and every fishing guide out there who runs fishing guides or tournament fishermen. We're talking about big time bass fishermen, stuff like that, who are on lots of lakes. They have very good sonar technology. They're very good. I just wish a lot of them knew what they were looking at, because a lot of the fishermen, a lot of the tournament guys, if it's not a tree, if it's not a rock, they don't know what they're looking at, because they're so used to chasing these structures because they're looking for the habitat that,
Yeah.
you know. But what I was gonna say about it is I was brain farting on it. I'm trying to remember, because I was gonna say something else. If they would all just be even more aware and just start reporting stuff when they see stuff, even. I mean, a lot of those guys are on the water, but I mean, not a lot of them realize what they're looking at sometimes. I'm not going to say that all of them are that way, but because there is some of them. And so, yeah, that's what I was getting at, is there's a lot of them that do know what they're looking at even. And then they're constantly sending me, or I say sending me, not all of them are sending me, but a few of our local fishing guides and tournament fishermen that are on a lot of our local lakes, they'll send me screenshots of their sonar imaging showing me a vehicle and giving me pin drop coordinates to it. And then I will call and find out that the local guides or tournament fishermen have already reported it, but they'll just let OK Diver know about it. And it's nice because I'll go dive on it to make sure that it's been cleared, because I've ran into some vehicles that supposedly they knew were down there. And I believe they knew some of them were down there, but they didn't know the new ones or anything. So I still go and dive on them. And then at that point, when I dive on them, I try to ID it. First of all, I make it to the vehicle. Once I make it to the vehicle, I check all the windows, make my way to the back of the vehicle. I try to remove a tag if a tag is there. If a tag is not there, then that's a good indication that someone has dove on it and the local authorities do know about it. So, but still at that point, I still try to ID it. I try to figure out what color it is. I try to figure out what make and model of vehicle it is. And then I come to the surface and I still call the local authorities saying, hey, I found this make and model, no tag. Oh yeah, we know that's there. Or yeah, we know that's there. Well, we knew that one was there, but we didn't know this one was there, you know? And cause like they'll like, oh yeah, we know that one's there. And then I get over there and there's 3 or 4 there and they only knew one was there. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with that. But it's nice because local fishing guides, they report this stuff too when they see them. The ones that do know what they're looking at, they'll report them. Every state out there have these fishing guides and tournament fishermen that are reporting them. And I'm sure every state's got a list a mile long of vehicles. And unfortunately, a lot of the states, they don't have the funding or the resources to be able to chase every lead or every anything on that list. They chase kind of what their minimum is or what the state requirement is or what the federal requirement is, however they get their funding, whatever is required at that point. Usually I've realized that a lot of them kind of do that point, do their kind of their minimum every year, and they keep that whole list as an inventory so they know they have that amount to pull every year.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I let me just point out, that's how I feel. I mean, but every state's got a list of fishing guides and fishing tournament fishermen reporting vehicles or reporting structures that appears to be a vehicle or something, and they just can't chase it. It'd be nice if they could. I wish they would, like Oklahoma, I wish they would allow me to chase all those leads, because I would at no charge to the state if they would, you know, allow me to chase all of these leads that they don't want to chase. It would be beneficial. And hear me out on that. It would be really beneficial for these states to consider doing that, especially the states that they don't have a lot of resources, because if they would allow outside divers like myself to come in and at our own risk, our own liability, no risk, no liability to the state or anyone, allow us to come in, chase these leads, dive on the vehicle. If we do find a vehicle, we can remove a tag plate, come to the surface, and then either we call the local authorities immediately and report that tag to the authorities, or we have a special number if we're working together and we call them and say, hey, this is the tag number. And then at that point, they're going to say, okay, diver, it's a simple stolen vehicle. We're leaving it there. Or, okay, diver, it's a stolen vehicle. You can remove it. That would be nice, but that won't happen. And if it's not a simple stolen vehicle, say it's connected to a cold case or a missing person, now all of a sudden let that go to the top of their list. Let them come out and pull it, or come in and have me and my crew lift it and pull it, however they want to do it, which our state has a dive team. So allow, like, for speaking from in Oklahoma point of view, if Oklahoma would allow me to chase all these leads and locate said vehicles if they're even there, then dive on said vehicle, ID said vehicle. If it's connected to a cold case or missing person, put it at the top of their priority list. Allow them to come get it, come pull it immediately or sooner than later, instead of chasing all these leads. Because that list that's a mile long of leads, I guarantee you a good 30% of that list don't even have vehicles where those leads are sending them to. It's just stuff people think or thought. They're just endless leads. And those endless leads could be very costly if you're not finding nothing, which, I mean, I'm not getting paid to find them anyway. So if I do find them or I don't find them, it don't matter. But it's, you get what I'm saying.
Right.
I can sometimes talk circles about stuff too, if you didn't realize that.
That's all right.
We're all good about that.
I'm very passionate about what I do, and I wished I could help more out. That's for sure. I wish I had the ability to have the funds, to generate the funds to be able to put me out there searching and scanning full time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's like I've mentioned before, there's so many bodies of water in Oklahoma that are on private property that we can't even get access to because the landowners are afraid of certain things. I mean,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of that stuff in Oklahoma. I mean, even not just Oklahoma, there's lots of shell pits and a lot of rock quarries and stuff like that in other states that nobody mess with, nobody dives in, nobody this and that, and they have rumors. I mean, for example, I'm in the y'all, anybody familiar with Coffeyville, Kansas?
Heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard
Coffeyville, Kansas is right at the southern line, Oklahoma and Kansas line, and there's a big shell pit right up there, what I consider kind of in the middle of town. And I tried about a year ago I went to the city of Coffeyville to see if we could get permission to come in there and scan, because again, OK Diver receives lots of messages about this pit saying that they know for a fact, or it's connected to this, or it's connected to that, or they've heard this story, or they've heard this rumor, and this is all they know. And I've talked to a 78-year-old man about a week ago that swears up and down this earth mover is still in this pit. He's 78 years old. He's heard this rumor all of his life. He swears up and down it's there, but he's never seen it there. Nobody's ever scanned it. Nobody's ever done nothing. And so I'm in negotiations with the city I'm talking to them, trying to get permission to get access to that pit and letting them know that I'm willing to meet their requirements, that they would give us, me and my guys, access to come in and just scan it, to lay to rest this rumor. If it's there, it's not there. There's rumored to have a train in it. And then, you know, I mean, again, OK Divers receive messages stating that they know vehicles are in there. And it's like, I'm just seeing, you know, I want to do everything the legal route. I don't want to ruffle feathers. So we went to the city and we're going that route. And hopefully the city will find it in their, hopefully they'll find the will to grant me access to just come in there and scan it and figure out what's in there for them. Later rest a bunch of decade-old rumors, you know. I mean,
so up here where I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, we have a lake. It's called Wyandotte County Lake. And when that lake was built, it was built by the Corps of Engineers. And unfortunately, I don't know quite the whole story, but there is a crane, there is a bulldozer, and there was a little part of a town with some houses that was in this area. And when the lake started filling up, they could not get the bulldozer. I think there's a crane, and I want to say there was some like wagons and stuff with stuff on it. And, you know, growing up, we always heard these stories. Well, when I'll be 50 this year. So in the middle 80s, when I was in middle school, my dad and mom bought a huge new pontoon boat. And I will never forget going out there on the lake and going to Wilson's Cove at Wyandotte County Lake. And I remember seeing the boom of the crane coming up in the water. And it was so freaky looking and scary looking. And there's another area right off where the crane is at, and it constantly bubbles. There was always bubbles coming up. And I can't remember what the story was with the bubbles, but supposedly in that area, there's the crane, bulldozer, and then across the way, supposedly about 10 feet down on a good sunny day, you could see like old wagons with boxes on them.
That'd be pretty neat to dive on.
Yeah.
And document, take pictures up for the city and stuff, so they can put it in like their historical society museums and stuff like that. Because, I mean, that stuff underwater, it's only going to last for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Take some pictures of it. I'm not saying remove anything. I'm just saying take pictures of it, because if you remove it at that point, it's just going to cause it to rot a lot faster. And so just send a diver down, take pictures and video of it, and it'd be a neat little thing to have in their historical society, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I've seen quite a few stories and things where equipment was parked in, quarries and stuff, and it flooded and it filled up, and they just left it because they couldn't pump it out and stuff like that. So in the majority of your cases that you do stuff, is it actually just looking for situations like that to prove or disprove? Is all your cases missing people?
No, I mean, I'm actively called on a regular basis by some of our state's authorities, just because I don't say no. I don't want to mention them just because I don't want to create any hard feelings with the ones I deal with. But I'm constantly being called because I don't say no. And I say constantly, not really constantly. I mean, that's the wrong word to be used. But I am being called on a fairly steady basis. Rather, it's just hey, we had rumors something went off in here. Could you come scan and see if you can locate something? And sure, no problem. And depending on you, if it's not too far from where I'm at, I'll just drop what I'm doing and I'll go spend an hour and a half, scan that spot for them, see if anything went in, stuff like that. Then that's usually what I'm called for. I have been called for some, unfortunately, body recoveries. And just because they were needing them recovered then, not later. I mean, so they had other people or other crews or organizations, or however you want to call them, groups that was going to come in later and do the recoveries for them. But because one of the agents heard about me, or one of the agents had been on site when I was called, who got my number, they'd call me, text me saying, hey, we need some help with such and such thing. This is either you're yes or no, you help or you don't. And if I tell them, yes, I will help, then at that point they fill me in on the case, and then I leave immediately and I head to where they're at. All volunteer, of course. And then when I'm on site, I sign NDAs stating that I won't talk about what I've done or what I've seen on scene or on site. So not really much to talk about there, since I can't talk about it. But yes, unfortunately, I've done body recoveries more than I want to really talk about. None of them sets easy on me. I may write in my own mind about it on my drive there usually, but I've had some that eats at me emotionally, caused some depression with me, some anxiety with me. And then, I tell you, another thing I say unfortunately for is, since I do work foul play cases openly, I get threats, I mean, and it's like, why you threaten me? Are you associated with it? And then I start trying to run them down that rabbit hole. Next thing you know, they delete me, block me, and threaten my life. So,
we know about threats.
Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, not trying to be cocky or anything, but when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Nobody's going to do anything to stop it,
Yeah.
So, I don't mean that in a bad way. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my family. But unfortunately, when he's ready to call us home, he calls us home. So,
Mhm. That's
but
true.
that's what I tell myself. My wife knows how to protect herself. So that's what matters.
Have you I guess have you had situations where you've had to from how you've talked, you have a group of people that goes with you. You have
Yeah, I do. And then kind of every situation's a little bit different because depending on like a lot of my NDA stuff, I can't bring anybody. I'm the guy. I'm the
yeah.
guy that's there. And then it's usually the agencies that's on site that I depend on them for my shore support. But they're really the agents that are on site, they're all more than glad to help me for because of what I'm doing. And then knowing that I'm doing it volunteer, then a few of them even go above and beyond. So
Yeah.
they'll shoot me $20 for gas because they know I'm paying for it out of my own pocket, or they'll shoot me $20 for air or something because they know I'm paying for it out of my own pocket. And it's not a lot considering the expenses that I'm out of pocket, but it is an appreciation. And from two humans, two individuals, it's an appreciation from one
Right.
to another.
Yeah.
So,
Now, before we come on live, you were talking about basically the trust and abilities between the diver and the captain. Could you kind of hit on that again?
Yeah, like for example, like when I do fast water diving, if there's current involved to where, and it's not a private body of water, so that means we're going to be exposed to other marine traffic. We're going to be exposed to debris, fast currents. Divers, I mean, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to swim against fast current. You cannot. Don't do it. It's going to wear you out. It's going to cause a lot of complications. You have to go with the current. And then again, when you're captain, because you're doing all this from boat out in the current, and so a captain, you have to be really familiar with your captain, and he has to be familiar with you. He's got to know how you're operating down there on the bottom, because once he puts you down in the water and you are on the anomaly or what you're diving on, the boat backs away because you're dealing with currents, and the boat backs away. And then at that point, they usually stay upstream from where I'm at so they can block and avoid any other marine traffic that's coming that could possibly come over the path of me. Again, when you're in current, you put a marker line on your said target. That's a whole different object right there, trying to put a magnet on something, in a fast moving water, because you got the rope like this. It's not straight down. You can't just pick it up and down and drop it on your target. You got to be 50 yards in front of your target, checking it all with sonar and making sure you line your rope up just right to get it on your said target. And then at that point, if you tie a float to that line, it's not going to stay facing upstream. It's going to go downstream. So a diver can't just swim out to that line, that float line, and go down that line, because now he's going to be fighting current to swim down that line. So you have to do it from the upriver side. And again, your captain you got to be familiar with your captain. Your captain's got to know everything. So
on a regular basis, do you work with the same captain, or do you have a couple different ones that you work with?
For the most part, I actually have a fairly newer captain. He's been a pretty good friend of mine. He just got a lot of his captain certifications. I'm not going to try to tell what his certs are because I don't know them all, and I'd be messing it up probably. But he is somebody that he's a veteran. He takes what he does very seriously. He's a diver, and so he knows he's on the scene with a lot of my dives. I do. I mean, he does a lot of my training dives with me. And so he knows from a diver's point of view and from a captain's point of view. And we just, when I'm in the water, I'm their number one target. I'm their number one goal. They won't leave scene. They won't do anything until their diver's back surface and safe. I mean, they have a whole procedure that they do if something happens. We don't use comms or communications, because with the fast moving water, what I've found with the wireless systems is you have a lot of interference with the debris or the particulates that's in the water with penetration. It's almost like going into a building or something with the wireless stuff. You kind of lose intermittent signal, and it just frustrates the whole situation more than it should be. And it adds a whole layer of stress and frustration to a situation that you don't want to be adding stuff to. Then the other option is a tethered system, doing like a line, like a hard hat helmet or a hard hat diver, big Kirby Morgan hard hats. You can do full face with a tethered line to you. But when you're doing fast moving currents and stuff like that, you're dealing with logs going down the water stuff. And all it takes is one log hits that line and you're tangled and you have to bail out of your equipment. And at that point you have to try. It's causes a lot of problems that we don't want. It the potential for problems that we don't want. So usually whenever I back off after I've cleared and ID'd a vehicle, then at that point I cannot come back up my line because it's running at an angle. So what I do try to do is I try to sort of come close to my line, but depending on how the current's holding my buoy in the line, sometimes I can get lucky and just kind of slide up that line without pulling on it too hard, and I come back to the surface like that, as long as it's not a really fast water. But if it is a really fast water, then I don't try to swim against it. Then at that point I will let my captain knows to pick me up downstream. Once I deploy a orange surface marker buoy, I'll deploy that. They know where I'm at all times once I deploy that, because I'll stay right under that rope. If I have to do safety stops or anything like that, I'm under that float. And then at that point, if I'm floating, I'll float a mile down the river if I got to. My boat will stay where they need to for my floats. You know what I mean? So, and then at that point, because of what I do, because of the nature of what I do, the risks that's involved, I have safe backup plans, emergency plans. Like unfortunately, if something happens to my body or happens to me while I'm down there at depths, it could be life and death, and so I have procedures that would ultimately put my body on the surface so my family could get closure in a worst case scenario. And nobody ever wants to talk about that stuff, but I have to. I mean, I talk about it because it's a daily occurrence for me. I mean, every dive I do, not every dive, because I do clear water diving with students and stuff like that, but for the most part, 90% of my diving is all limited viz or zero visibility, and there's already so much safety stuff involved just with that it's stressful. It can be stressful. It can be everything, but you got to keep control in your own head. Yes. But yeah, you got to keep control with your own mind, because your mind's the thing that'll wipe you out. It'll destroy you down there. I've touched big fish, couldn't see them. That's the day-old question: is what's the biggest fish you've ever seen? Every time I go to a lake, every time somebody sees me with my gear on, what's the biggest fish you've ever seen? Well, we're at Keystone Lake. I can't see nothing here.
I bet you're glad we ain't got alligators in Oklahoma.
Well, funny story. A couple years ago, there was an alligator found in a city lake over in Claremore.
Oh, wow.
Lake. And it just so happened that a week before this alligator was found by the public and they decided to go out there and try to catch it or kill it or something, this very same dock that it apparently made home around the week prior to, I recovered a set of keys at.
Oh,
wow.
But the thing is he must have been eating good, because he wasn't interested in me. But yeah, I've thought about that because of that incident. And in southern Oklahoma, we got alligators.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, like McCurtain County, we got alligators in McCurtain County, and I think it's McCurtain County. I know in southern Oklahoma they're doing a lot of alligator conservation stuff. But if I don't know it's there, I guess what I don't know won't kill me, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, like you said,
I learned something new, because I was always told there was no alligators in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, they've been on the news for the past few years down in McCurtain County, like last winter, or not last winter, maybe the winter before, when we had that really bad freeze. They were I can't remember what it was called. They where they stick their snout out of the water while the water freezes over, and they go into a hibernation mode. And there was pictures of that all over the news a few years ago about that. And then I've been following a few conservation programs that they're doing, trying to make them more replenish in Oklahoma, more abundance, I guess.
Right.
Learn more, I guess. That's probably what they're doing most, is learning, educating themselves with them.
Wow. Yeah, I know there's been stories of them up here in Kansas where people had them as pets and then couldn't no more.
I think that's what happened to that one in Claremore. I think that's how it got there. I think it was somebody's pet at one point, and it just got too big, and they released it.
Right.
Yeah, it's but again, it's kind of like what I've said before. You know, when it comes to the alligator thing, it's like I really believe that God puts me where He wants me.
Mm-hmm.
If He wants me to dive there, He's going to allow me to dive there. I don't want to fight an alligator. I'm not. I mean, people call me stupid and crazy, but I don't think I'm that stupid or crazy. But I don't know what I'd do if I was put face to face with one trying to bite my leg while I was down there doing something.
I can tell you a messed up story. When I was living in Florida,
I watched a lot of those scary stories. So go ahead.
We were walking, going hog hunting down by Mayaca River, and Florida's got palm trees that are always laid over, and we swore up and down that looked like a palm tree, and then we got like 10 feet from it, and that thing started moving. No, nope, we were gone.
I seen this little video the other day, a week ago, maybe a month ago. A gentleman, an older gentleman, was walking his like Pomeranian or something by the elder community pond or whatever, and this alligator come up, grab that pup, and he jumps on top of it with a big old cigar in his mouth, and he gets that pup out of its mouth. The whole time he's got this big old cigar in his mouth. And I'm thinking,
he didn't drop a cigar once.
That's my idol. No, but
that gator's mouth right open.
Yeah, it was a funny thing though. He wasn't going to allow that gator to take his pup for a snack.
Nope.
Man.
But yeah, I wish I could do more, and I can only do it as funds allow me. And unfortunately, that almighty dollar, I got to have it to keep the lights on to support my family. So that's priority first. And maybe one day I can have my social media platforms big enough to where I can kind of put that money towards saving and funding me going and searching and scanning. That's kind of my ultimate goal. I am a contract diver for hire. I'm known for doing a lot of contract work. I do that stuff that everybody says nope, but it usually pays me pretty decent when I'm working. So.
Now, we know you can't discuss any case information due to NDAs. Now, how about any of your contract dives as far as not related to cases?
Contract dives, I do a lot. I mean, I'm pretty much a diver for hire. If it goes to the bottom and you want it back, call me. I'll come get it for you. I charge a fee to do it because, unfortunately, I got to keep the lights on.
Right.
Ideally, one day, I if I could ever get better tech savvy and learn to edit videos and stuff, but ideally, one day I'll be able to not charge nothing and just be able to go recover people's cell phones and their keys and their fuel caps and their railing to their houseboat and that ladder or that drill or that generator cover or that generator because it's under warranty. And if they get it back, they can go warranty it out because Arbor Freight warranties it. They just need it to take there. So
yeah,
it's
I'm just now learning how to edit videos.
Yeah, and I'm learning. I mean, I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy. Like, let me do the work and somebody else do the editing. But again, that's just not how it works. That's not reality. So,
no.
But looks like he's at 900 subs now. That's awesome. I've grown a lot over the past month, and I really appreciate every sub, everybody that's come in. That's awesome. I know I need to do some sort of a video to welcome everybody and let everybody know I appreciate them for sure. That's crazy. I still can't believe it's that high.
Yeah, and like I told you, I'll get a picture of your YouTube channel and your Facebook, as well as the 2 links, and put them in my link tree for my TikTok.
Right
And-
on. I have a TikTok account that I'm trying to build up too. So you can tag me.
Okay,
TikTok.
I can help you grow that to get you to 1,000 followers to where you can use that for live streaming as well.
Right on. That would be awesome.
So, guys, make sure to go over and subscribe and follow him, support him any way you can.
I mean,
I know you guys see it too. Obviously, this guy's doing everything he can to help these families.
Mhm.
Big hearted, just a good guy. So let's do everything we can to help him down there.
Yeah.
I've recovered boats. Towboat contracts me, hires me occasionally when they need a diver to help them bring a big boat up from the bottom that's deeper than they want to dive, or their insurance allows them to dive to anyway. I say insurance, it may not be insurance, shouldn't say that, just their comfortability of diving. And so I'm blessed, and some of them contract me to do some of their diving for them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, anything and everything goes to the bottom. I've brung a lot of stuff up. A couple summers ago, just for the fun of it, I recovered 600 pairs of sunglasses under a Jellystone inflatable park on one of our local lakes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But did that, and then I recovered numerous cell phones and sunglasses, boat anchors. I say numerous. When I get called probably on average about once a week or something on that stuff, and then I kind of supplement it with handyman services and whatever else somebody will hire me to do.
Okay.
I have a family of 6, so I can't afford not to work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Patrick, we really appreciate you coming on here tonight. And you had an open invite. You ever bored, anything, you have open invite to come on with us anytime.
Let me point this out. Let me leave something for y'all to think about. Oklahoma, and we're not the only state. There's a lot of bodies of water that randomly fall on private property, unfortunately. Even the ones that are on public property, if they're not open to the public, you have a hard time getting access to them. There's a lot of bodies of waters that's out and about. If we could just get access to them so we can scan them, because you never know. Look at all the guys down there in Florida, Sunshine State boys. They're awesome, and they're just scanning. All they're doing is scanning rivers, locating vehicles, diving, and clearing the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I mean, I wish I could do that, because if we could do that in some of our rivers, yeah, but we have a lot of private bodies of water that we can't get access to. Property owners don't want to give us permission to. So any help or any advice that anybody's got or ways of trying would be greatly appreciated. I would be more than glad to try it if it's an angle that I have not tried yet.
Alex
Again?
is pretty good at coaching property owners.
Well, I mean,
I get,
I've got some.
I've had to do a few for some of our cases, and one thing that I've learned is, writing letters, basically explaining the story, sending the missing persons flyers, and so far we've had pretty good luck with the ones that I've reached out.
I've had a couple. Let me correct myself. I've had a couple of them that say that if I can, without a doubt in my mind, or a doubt, and prove to them that without a doubt in my mind that I can prove somebody is in these pits, they will give me permission. Rumorly, they've told me that, like, I'll force them to give you permission type thing. And it's like, well, it's not for sure, but they've said that. But I can't, because it's like, I wish I could connect someone to them, because I know there's stuff in there. I know I'm not going to specifically say there's missing people, but I mean, according to some of the stories that OK Divers heard, or OK Divers been sent, or that's been sent to me, say otherwise. I mean, some of these locations, if you go walk around them, you can see skid marks going right off the edge of a 70-foot bluff.
Right.
We're talking skid marks from vehicles, but I can't prove who that was or who it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's not good enough for the authorities to say, let's scan it. It's not good enough for the property owners to say, yeah, there's something in there, we need to scan it.
And the sad thing is, not to interrupt you, it really comes down to a common sense to sit there and say, well, the skid marks didn't come out of the water and go across and just
Exactly.
Was it an alien? Was it a spacecraft that skidded off the road and took off? I mean,
Did he jump the whole ravine?
Come
yeah,
on.
but
Let's
it's
heads.
there. I wished I could get access to a lot of these private bodies of water because they have stories to tell. These bodies of water want to tell stories, and whether it's me or somebody needs to tell what these bodies of water are hiding.
Because they could be hiding a lot of stuff.
I mean, and for years, I can show you several pits, aerial photographs that I can get for the areas that I can prove that there's been water in the pits for almost 100 years. And
Just not to interrupt you again.
no, you're good.
You use vintage aerial and historical aerial, the two main websites. Do you use those to look at images of properties?
I'm not gonna try to tell you yes or no. I just start getting online and start Googling and researching and figuring out and going down every rabbit hole until I can figure out what I can figure out, if that makes sense.
There's quite a few of them that, I mean, you can go back all the way to the 30s and look at images. And I mean, we've had some cases where we've had some stories and we've just downright said, you're full of crap, man.
Yeah, you're full of crap because you can go back 10 years and see where it dried up.
I can pull every image up for the last 50 years, and there wasn't a house where you're saying there was, or there wasn't, this barn where you say this person was put. I mean, and I mean, that has truly been this is different than Google Earth stuff.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, it has played a really important role in looking at, some of our cases.
I've had some cases to where I've actually had to go to the town historical museum and start questioning them about locations and bodies of water to figure out what they can tell me. And then you'll be surprised if you go in person to these historical societies, what they can tell you about a lot of places locally to them too. So I found a lot of information, a lot of aerial footages that way too. So sorry about interrupting.
There was a case a while back, and honestly, I cannot remember whose video it was I was watching, but they were looking for a missing couple, and they lived in an area where there was strip pits, and they went to one of them, and the strip pit had been filled in, and it was the last possible most plausible situation where these people were seen in this area, and literally the area they went to had been filled in with dirt. The water had been pumped, or I don't know if the water had been pumped out or they just started filling it full of dirt.
I have several locations in Oklahoma that I can show you. I can go back 5-10 years from now. I can show you several pits that were open, and then I can show you aerial footages back from the 30s or the 40s of where these pits have had water in them that long, but then because they spent the last 20 years filling them up, filling it in with debris and stuff like that, and it's like, well, I've worked cases to pits that were no longer there.
Yeah,
that we could clearly tell this is where they were at. And I say clearly tell, we had that good of leads, but because property owners or city ordinance or cities would be filling up these, or counties even would be sending all their debris for the past 20 years to this one particular pit, they've buried stuff. It's going to cost so much more now to have a company to come in and dig a 50-foot pit to get down to where those vehicles would be, if you could get lucky enough to find it. But then again, they don't pump out the waters, they just fill them up. The water absorbs,
start filling them, and then as they fill up with time, the water comes up and runs out. And
I've worked some cases with the authorities to where we've been led to what used to be pits, and these pits were no longer there. I mean, they were nothing. I mean, you can tell where they were backfilled and stuff like that. I mean, and I'm telling you, I mean, we kind of had an idea, but it was like surely not type thing. And then you get on site, and yeah, somebody's had a reason. And you find out that some farmer has been contracting something with some local landscaping guys or companies for the past 50 years. And so they've been dumping all their rock and debris and dirt and gravel and trees and everything in there and filling it up, stuff like that. I mean, we're getting we're getting a lot of pits. They're being filled up more and more. It's like, we need to send divers into them. We need to put sonar on them before they get filled in so we can see what those pits are telling. Because what about all the missing people, missing loved ones that are there, that could be there? It's like Oklahoma. We're a central hub for the U.S. We have very big bodies of water easily that are the public can access all hours of the day and never be seen by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these pits, I've heard stories that are associated with the Ku Klux. I mean, it's bad stuff. I mean, why wouldn't we want to know what's in there? I mean, especially after listening for the past 50 years or 80 or 100 years of all this stuff or rumored to be in there. And then with my little bit of following I have on Facebook, once I put a post out there or somebody hears rumor that I'm interested in some sort of location, it's like clockwork. I just start receiving notifications from people wanting to tell me what they know about that location. And then again, it's like the threats. I get threats about locations, and it's like, what do you know about it besides threatening me? I want to know what you know. And
I'll be serious. We had a situation here recently on a case, and I'm not gonna lie, I was frantically looking for a bulletproof vest because I was gonna be in a situation where I didn't trust the situation, to be honest. And I'm a big guy, 330 pounds, 6'1", and I'm like, where am I gonna get something before I gotta be somewhere, And I had, talked with Dennis and Dan, and I'm like, I'm just a little leery of this situation, a little bit, because
I'm a licensed concealed carry, not only in the state of I'm a licensed concealed carry. I mean, and that's kind of where I'm just going to leave it. I mean, and I'm not threatening any one particular person. I'm not doing that at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, unfortunately, we have some crazy individuals or crazy groups of people out here, and I find myself in situations to where I don't have intentions to shoot anybody. I don't. But I'm going home at the end of the night. Don't give me a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not threatening nobody. It's just I have a family I've got to support and I've got to protect. I'm not going to put myself in a situation to where I'm going to be in the wrong. Or I hope.
Right.
I had a situation last year where we were working on a case and things were getting kind of heated about things. And I was about 30 minutes from this area, and I was doing some excavation work, and I had a all blacked out GMC Denali Yukon pull up on the road that I was working and set, and then followed me 45 minutes home. And I took every possible, because I noticed they were following me, and I'm like, why in the world is this, this Yukon following me? And I took every back road, I took probably 10 different back roads to get back to the main town, to get on the highway to come home. And they followed me all the way to my exit and then turned and got back on the highway.
I've had scenarios to where people has followed me, and I'm the kind of person, I'm not going to waste my gas. I don't have a lot of it. So I'm just going to pull over. I'll block the road. If I can confirm that you're following me, I'll jackknife my truck on the side of the road and I'm going to get out. And you're either going to have a good reason why you're following me, or you're not going to have a good reason. You're going to pill out. And when you pill out, I'm going to take pictures of your vehicle. I'm going to get your tag number, and I'm going to forever know who you are. So I'm going to know who I've got to watch out for.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I'm from Oklahoma. I mean, I'm crazy. I don't play no games. I mean, I've got kids. I've got a wife that depends on me. I love them very much. I want to go home at the end of the day to them.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. And I mean, but I'm not going to sit here and run around the block 2 or 3 times so you don't follow me home.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're following me, you already know who I am. Let's just get the beef out. Let's figure it out. We're either gonna work with each other or we're gonna be enemies. I mean,
Yeah.
See,
and
you guys know why I'm crazy. I'm from
and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be big headed or act like I'm, all gung ho or something, because I'm not. I don't, but it's fiddle around and find out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I don't want to play that game with nobody.
Nope.
I mean, I'm too young to be fighting anymore. I used to fight a lot. My body just don't heal like it used to, and my body it aches too much anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm gonna shoot anybody. I don't want to shoot nobody. I don't want to do anything like that. But I am, unfortunately, in the line of stuff I do, I have to take the precautions. And some people may not like the way I handle things. I'll be the first to tell you, I may not handle the things how each and every one of y'all may handle them, but I'm not going to say that I handle them wrong. When it's the end of the story and it's all said and done, usually people are agreeing with the way I handled it. They just may not have agreed with how I come off about it.
Yeah.
And again, it's like we all said before, we're all entitled to our own opinion. We're all entitled to it. You're either going to like it or you don't like it. I mean, we're all adults. Please tell me the truth. I want to know the truth. I'd much rather know the truth and go cry about it and be over it than be lied to.
Exactly.
Right. Saying I've made it public before. Every search I'm on, I'm carrying.
Yeah, I mean,
but most of the time we're carrying anyway. But
I'm we're the boots on the ground. I mean, we're the ones in a lot of these shady areas. And I mean, and I don't know about y'all, but I can't afford security or afford to hire a guard that comes set in my boat for someone that wants to shoot at me from the bank. And I'm just making up stories, and hopefully nobody gets a bright idea. But what can I do at that point?
Right.
I mean, it's like,
you got to protect yourself.
It's the way I look at it is I'm not going to live in fear. When it's my time to go, the big man upstairs is going to call me home when it's my time to go. And he won't call me home a minute before. And, I'll tell you, the only thing I fear in this life, I don't fear anybody on this earth. The only thing I fear in this life is leaving before I see my kids grow. I want to see my kids grow up. That's the only thing I want to see in life. If I can see my kids grow up in life, I'll be happy. I mean, the rest of it, we have no control over.
Exactly.
I mean, even at that point, I have no control over guaranteeing that I'm going to be able to be here and see my kids grow up and see my grandkids and stuff. I hope and I pray. But we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
No.
That's right.
I'm not going to live today fearing tomorrow. If I do, I won't go nowhere. I'll stay in my bedroom, won't even get out of bed at that point.
Right. And you can live the most safe life, bubble wrapped in a single room of a house and never go anywhere. And when it's your time, it's your time. Nothing you can do to
and that's the way it is, and there's those sayings that you can either live safe and safe you'll be, or you can, I don't remember how it goes. You know what I'm trying to say, though. You can either play it safe and stay on the couch, or you can go have fun and live your life to the fullest and die a little bit shorter, but you're going to have a more pleasurable, more enjoyable time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole caged animal and free range animal type thing,
Mm-hmm.
And then with this, you also get to look at how many families you have been able to help bring their lost loved ones home, find them answers.
That's one of the most rewarding things for me. I mean, that and being an assistant instructor at a local dive shop, helping teach students. I mean, I've been helping teach some kids, and here recently I've taught some kids that have really made it I mean, I got a lot of kids. I love all my kids. I do. But something about it took these two strangers kids for me to have a little eye opening, if that makes sense. And I see a lot of strange kids on a regular basis. I mean, neighborhood kids constantly coming around, stuff like that. But it was teaching these two junior kids to become open water level 1 junior divers, and that process of doing that, teaching them like how to clear their mask and stuff like that. I found it really rewarding. I mean, it was really because how excited these kids got after this stuff. I mean, it was really rewarding experience for me. And then the search and recovery side, I don't care if I see the family, I don't care if I ever meet the family, but knowing that I bring closure or that I helped a family, that's all that's for me. I sleep good at night knowing that, and I can sleep good anywhere knowing that. But
see, guys, if there's another team out there to follow and support, by far it is OK Diver.
Well, OK Diver's one person right now. I'm building a team, and we're putting together a group of guys that's ideally just going to be able to do this all as volunteers. That's what I'm trying to ultimately do. I wish I could just have the money to start a nonprofit, because if I did, I would in a heartbeat.
And I do want to say this. The first time you and I had a conversation on the phone, it was about a particular case and the possibility of you traveling over to dive on that case. And first conversation I ever had with you, and you were ready to go. You were ready to go, try to bring this person home. And only questions was case-related questions. You were ready to be there. And that right there spoke volumes about you.
This is me. I mean, I get called. I get called daily. I mean, sometimes multiple times daily about multiple cases. And if I'm not being called, I can probably guarantee that I'm getting multiple emails or multiple messages daily about missing cases, missing person being brought to my attention. I was going to say something about it. They're being brought to my attention. I want to help them all, but I can't. But what was it? So in the beginning, we talked. Man, I keep having a lot of squirrels. A lot of random squirrels. I'm sorry.
I got a squirrel problem too. It keeps eating my pecan tree.
But
I mean, do you have families of missing people that 100% offer you money? Like, hey,
so this is where I'm at on that, because yes, I've had some families offer me funding to come and search for their missing loved ones. There is some of them that I've had to be upfront and honest with them that due to certain factors in the case, I don't think it's practical for someone like me to come scan, because I don't think our abilities would be useless at this point in the case. I get a lot of that. And, of course, to the family, they don't want to hear that. They want this place searched. And it's because that's where, some Joe Blow brothers, uncles, somebody knows or has a feeling or was told this is where they're at. But then it's like, well, are they missing with the brick or missing with a barrel? Is there something? Because a lot of times people want me to come work cases that aren't with missing vehicles, or they're just rumored to be in a barrel or something like that along those lines, in a chest. And, that's where I come that's what I was getting at, is like with all these stuff that everybody sends OK Diver, all these cases, all these people that want me to come and work cases, I pretty much tell all of them, I'm not here to fuel your conspiracy theories. I'm not here to do that whatever. Because people will try to, that sounds right, doesn't it? I don't know. Is that in his character or in their character? I don't want to be that one that puts that rumor out there that leads something or something. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that can lay to rest all those conspiracy theories and rumors and stuff like that. All I need access is the body of water and the funds to get there. I can lay to rest any rumor on that body of water. I just need access to it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, yeah, it looks like a vehicle could slide in here, or yeah, it looked like a vehicle slid off right there. I'm not going to tell you that because I don't know that. But I can tell you for sure, if I can get on that body of water and scan it, I'm going to tell you what's down there. I'll tell you the fish population. I'll tell you what, if there's vehicles, what kind of structure, fish, barrels. I can tell you if it's a house. I can tell you if it's a car. I can tell you if it's a four-wheeler. Side by sides. I've located side by sides, four-wheelers. They're all distinctly, you can tell what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you've got the hours of looking at that sonar imaging like I do.
So a question when it comes to remains, I mean, how often is somebody in a barrel? I mean, when you in experience, what?
Well, I've helped with one missing individual. I'm not going to go into details other than kind of some discrete stuff. I helped with one case. This one case, we were looking for one individual in one barrel, or in a barrel, on this body of water. I was finally able to get access to this body of water through the authorities, high up authorities. I was able to locate one barrel, and then about 20 feet away from that barrel, I located a second barrel. When I marked the first barrel and dove on it and realized there was human remains in it, I done all my stuff, signaled to the surface, let surface know everything, we got human remains. In the process of recovering these remains out of the first barrel, we realized it wasn't one individual. We realized we had two individuals, two young ladies expected to believe at the time. And then with the other barrel, I went and searched it, and there was two individuals in that barrel. And so we ended up bringing closure to three missing people that nobody had anything to go on besides they vanished. And this one case led us to this one barrel that ended up recovering. We ended up recovering four total individuals. We're talking 20, 30 plus years they've been in these barrels. So it was that was an experience emotionally for me, because I was only going to site looking for one barrel, one individual, and that can opened up a lot more. So yeah. But it's everything's different. Every time I've done something, it's been different. And no two things have ever been the same, if that makes sense. I've never recovered two bodies that I've done the same thing on, that I've done the same way, if that makes sense, recovery wise. But I will tell you, I don't say no. I get called, and when it's those particular ones, as long as I currently have the funds, my wife usually gets upset with me, because if I have the funds in our account, I don't mean extra funds. If I have the funds in our account, I will spend what me and my wife have in our personal checking account so I can get there and do the recovery for them. There's a reason I'm being called. Yeah. So I go. But
yeah,
I can't release names. I can't release locations. I can't release if they were males or females. I can't release none of that. But that was an emotional experience for me.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know what you're talking about.
This one, it was very limited public stuff. So, I mean, I'm not going to say you don't know what it's about, but it was very limited. I question a lot of this stuff because it's like I don't see a lot of it on the news. And I asked myself that question for a long time. Well, why didn't I see that? Why wasn't that on the news? Why what I did last night at 2:00 in the morning on the news? Why wasn't that reported? Or what I did at 6 o'clock this morning. Why wasn't that reported? But it breaks down to it wasn't reported.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done body recoveries that you think would have been front page news, should have been.
You know,
Nothing.
something I've discussed with Dennis, you know, over the last couple of years, is that it seems like the missing people at this point is out of control. It seems like there's more missing people, especially in Kansas and Missouri, than there ever has been. And there is absolutely nothing on the news that points to, hey, talk to your kids. Tell your kids to be aware of their surroundings and things and this situation. And it's like, you know, and I've done, you know, for a while on our channel, I used to do the missing persons report. I used to try to do it every week for Kansas and Missouri through the KBI, through the Missouri Highway Patrol. And it was just out of control. And then I started getting a lot of nasty comments because, you know, I'll be honest, half the people's names I couldn't pronounce. And I apologized constantly. And the comments just kept coming and coming. And I just finally just laid off from doing it. And, you know, but it was just the fact that every week there was 20 to 30 people that would go missing, where just 4 years ago, there might be 20 to 30 people a year that would go missing. I mean, it's just out of control, it seems like.
I'm not going to say Oklahoma specifically because every state has pits, every state has them. But like Oklahoma has a lot of these big rock pits that are very close to our highways, very close. I mean, some of them are even rumored to have been built back when the highway was originally built, because that's how they got the rock for the base of the road, rumored.
Mm-hmm.
So what about all those missing people that's in Kansas, Missouri, Texas, Tennessee, people like that was traveling that went missing, just vanished. Nobody ever seen them anymore. What about any of those pits that are along the roads that the public can't, or people like us want to come in and scan that can't get access to? I mean, it's crazy because it's like Oklahoma, for example, we have a lot of big pits very close. We're talking, I can show you several locations where we got pits that are less than 50 yards from main public highways, busy highways, that one rainy, winter, snowy, foggy night,
somebody,
morning,
nobody
saw anything. Nobody's seen anything. I'm not going to say that we could for sure do it, but I bet we could solve missing person people in other states just because they were traveling and they slid off the road like that. If more people could get access to these private bodies of water that are so close to public roads.
And that's where laws really need to be changed when it comes in regards to access to land, especially land.
Nobody wants to lose rights to their property. So,
well, I'm not talking about properties with houses on them. I'm talking about just open land.
Well, I mean, someone owns it and nobody wants to be told what they can and cannot do. You know, nobody wants to hear, we're coming on your property and we're going to scan this body of water and there's nothing you can do about it. Nobody wants to hear that.
Mm-mm.
You know, yeah. I mean, it's your property. They want to protect it at all right. It's understandable. So, and that's kind of where we run into, that's what we run into all the time, is because if we cannot connect a specific missing person to any one pit, we can't get access to them. But if we can just connect one person to each body of water, I could get access to all of them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm sure there's bodies of water out there that don't have no secrets to tell. But I'm sure there's a lot that's got a lot that they want to tell.
Right.
Yeah.
And if there's anything we can do to help you try to link a case to a body of water, just let us know. We'll do everything we can on our
any traveling missing persons traveling through Oklahoma, central Oklahoma. If you can do that and you can connect them to where they traveled through central Oklahoma, send me a missing person, something about them, and I will do the rest to try to connect them to these pits. I mean, my problem is there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of missing people out there. They don't
Right.
have time to go and scan and try to figure out which ones went missing traveling through Oklahoma type thing. Not just specifically saying traveling, but it's like Oklahoma's a central hub for the U.S. A lot of people come and go traveling to other states. They come right through here.
Exactly.
I mean, but we're not the only state that has big pits next to them, next to the roads. I mean, it's not even highways. It's what about all the shady activity that did take place that all the locals knew about these places? Oh, we won't get caught out here. We'll just ditch this vehicle here and nobody will ever see it. Then, not to mention 50 years ago, nobody thought sonar technology would be what it is today.
Right.
They were throwing in vehicles. And I say they, whoever they were, when they threw something in that body of water, it's just like those guns that we find and everybody finds. They throwing them in there because they think they'll never be found again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at all the ones that are coming to light on a daily basis with other divers, recreational divers who just went out fun diving at their fishing spot. And they found a vehicle and solved a 20-year missing cold case. You know, I mean, it's... Unfortunately, I have to be a pain in the butt and want access to these private properties because I know there's stuff there. I can't, and I refuse to accept no. Robbie's my cousin. Hello, Robbie.
I'm glad you
No.
answered that question.
Yeah, I sent out a link to a lot of my friends and family. Offered them to come tune in if they wanted to. But yeah, it's just like he's one of my cousins. I got him into diving. He's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of potential, and he's going down a really good road right now.
Nice.
But yeah, like I was saying, I just got to be a pain in the butt. If it's a body of water in the middle of a housing neighborhood, and I can connect it being there for 20 or 30 years, I want access to it. I want to scan it because it's got something to tell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then the thing is it's we were talking about, that's why I use sonar. I use satellite imaging, and I do a lot of researching because, like, for example, Nug, awesome. I love his channel. He does great stuff. He just went on a wild goose chase because, I mean, I guess some random YouTuber posted a video about diving on a video in his hometown lake, or a vehicle in his hometown lake, and then he goes and dives, can't find it, finds the sea anchor, and then turns around and goes back to sonar, or goes back to satellite imaging to 3 years ago when it was dried up. And there's no vehicles there. And this other YouTuber did a live there, claimed it was a vehicle there and that it's been there for 20 something years, too dilapidated to pull, or too wore out to pull. And then he goes and he just released a video on it. And I had a feeling the way it was that he was chasing some wild goose chase. And that's one of the reasons I learned to go back to satellite imaging, is because if someone says, oh, I know something's been in there for 20 years, well, satellite imaging, I can go back and tell you if that body of water's had water in it for 20 years, or I can tell you what it looked like 20 years ago. And that's ideally, no matter what they look like today, if you're working any cold case, you got to go back to what it looked like that year they went missing. Because our rivers, our stuff changes, fluctuates a lot.
Exactly.
I mean, not to mention everybody that's scanning, every place they've scanned, like all these big YouTubers that say, oh, that body of water's cleared, I've cleared it. No, you can't say that. You've been gone for a day. Somebody could have done illegal activity in the 24 hours that you were gone.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't sit there and tell teams that this missing person or this and that. Yeah, if they're 20 years missing person or something, and you trust that team that come in and scanned, and yeah, obviously they didn't go missing in that body of water 20 years ago. You can trust that sort of. But with me, I ultimately want to know for sure with my own mind, see it with my own sonar. And then at that point, if I find any kind of anomalies I can't verify what they are from the surface, I dive on them. I will tell you what it is. It's either a half buried vehicle, or it's a vehicle sitting on the surface, or it was a concrete slab from an old picnic bench that washed in the river, that was just throwing me off, and I couldn't tell what it was from the surface with sonar, so I had to dive on it. Yeah, I mean, I look for any kind of man-made objects, square stuff that you can clearly tell is not a natural formed stuff below the surface. Vehicle structures, very easily to tell that stuff from. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, with our sonar technology, it's something. I mean, people ditching stuff 20, 30 years ago wasn't thinking about scuba divers, wasn't thinking about sonar technology becoming what it's becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, it's like I said, just because I've scanned a spot, even if I've been gone from that spot for an hour, I mean, I'm going to tell you, yeah, up to the point I left that spot, I didn't locate anything. I'm not going to say that I didn't miss something, because I don't want to, depending on the case, I won't leave false hope. I don't want to tell them that. I'll just tell them, like, instead of saying, no, it's not here for sure, I just tell them or tell the family that I don't believe it to be here because I'm not locating anything with my sonar or something like that. I don't leave them to believe that. I let them know that I'm not, but I haven't located it, and I know my abilities, and I mean, I'm confident in my abilities, and I feel like if it was there, I would locate it if it was there. But just because I don't locate it doesn't mean I didn't have a bad day. I mean,
Right.
Everybody's entitled to a bad day. And I'm not going to say that I have bad days, but I mean, I'm human. I'm not perfect. So therefore, I'm not going to, when I'm helping cold cases or missing persons, I'm really cautious on what I say to the families, because I don't want to leave any false hope or false anything. So that's why mainly I don't do conspiracies. I can say yes or no for sure. And if I can find this target you want me to locate, I'll dive on that target if it makes you feel better. You know, so. But we all want to help more. We all want to be part of something bigger than just ourselves. You know?
100%.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, docks are underwater. A lot of times, especially in a lot of our older rivers that were permitted to have docks. Sorry, I seen this from Mac, so I just figured I'd say it real quick. A lot of our older rivers that had docks in them that were back in the 60s, when the Corps of Engineers was really focusing, or the federal government was really focusing on recreational activity around the U.S. So they went through building a lot of lakes to create this recreational activity. Well, back in the day, they still understanding river currents and stuff. I mean, they understood them, but they would permit a lot of fishing docks or boat docks to go in places where they shouldn't have been in, too fast of currents on bends of rivers, places they shouldn't have been. Unfortunately, storms, stuff like that will cause that dock to break loose, sometimes sinking those docks due to lack of maintenance or just not a properly built dock. And so, yes, I have found entire dock buildings, entire boathouses underwater, 50 foot underwater. And I found those in Grand Lake. I can show you multiple complete docks with sides, roofs, everything that are setting down on the bottom that'll hold 3 or 4 boats if they were on the surface.
Man.
Wow.
I mean, it's just freak storms, you know. I mean, we had a freak storm blow through that storm that blew through Father's Day, you know. I mean, on Keystone Lake, that took a dock and completely flipped the whole dock that had a boat in it on a boat lift, flipped it upside down, the entire dock. I mean,
Wow.
storms, you know.
Yeah, we get some nice weather here.
No offense, y'all can keep that kind of weather down
Funny
south.
story before we get off here. One of the most strangest things that I didn't go after it, but I got called about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, about a year after I was a diver for hire. And just a funny story, individual calls me and says, "Hey man, I got a half a pound of cocaine in that car and I just sunk it. I need you to go get it for me." I said, dude,
Oh, wow.
I said, every cop, every authority seen your headlights go under. I said, they'll be there before I get there. No, thank you. That's been to date one of the most funniest phone calls I ever got.
Oh, man.
I honestly thought for a second you were going to say something about a UFO crash.
Yeah, no, not UFOs. I went and located ultralight helicopters for their owners, so we can pull them up. Owners will be flying over lakes or over bigger rivers, and they've sunk their ultralight helicopter and know exactly where it's at. They just need a diver with sonar to come locate it and come dive to it and tie to it so we can pull it to the surface.
Oh, wow.
But Yeah, it's I've done a lot of interesting things. For the record, I did not go after that cocaine. I did not. It was a funny thing. I told that guy, I said, with you going in there off that highway, I said, there's going to be authorities. There was witnesses. I said, there's no way I'm going to risk it. He's like, I'll pay you $500. I said, that sounds nice, but I can't do it. But,
Wow.
yeah. I tell you, I hear a lot of something I really wish I could find is you hear a lot of the old timers talking about how they moonshine runners and this vehicle went off here or this vehicle went
Oh
off there and
man.
it's full of bottles of moonshine. I want to find one of those locations. I just want a
Yes.
bottle of that moonshine, not to drink, just so I can say it's old school shine. It's the good stuff.
Are you ready?
If you ever find that, send me a bottle of it. I will drink it and let you know how good it was.
Well, I mean, if I find it, I'll be more than glad to send you a bottle, just because it's one of those things. You know, I've seen videos on History Channel of like the moonshiners videos and stuff, and somebody's granddad's uncle's brother was out running somebody, and he ran his car off here, and it had 10 gallons of shine in the back seat or something. You know, it's like, man, we got a lot of that stuff that happened around here, but nobody's told me where their grandpas ran their vehicle off to ditch the authorities, though.
Man.
Man.
That'd be neat. But
Oh, and as Matt says here, that $500 won't pay bail.
yeah,
Going to get
I mean,
that
no,
cocaine.
it wouldn't pay bail. It wouldn't be risking it. I mean, a couple of my diving buddies, they joked around and they're like, dude, you should have took your lift bag and just attached it to a lift bag and said, there it is, floating down the river. Give me my money. You got your lift bag. But no,
Wow.
I mean, I try to walk a straight and narrow. I don't want to worry about anything.
And speaking of lift bags, what is the cost for a lift bag? How much is a lift bag?
I pretty much tell everybody figure up $1 a pound. So if you want a 500-pound lift bag, it's going to cost you about $500. If you want a 1,000-pound lift bag that'll lift 1,000 pounds, you're looking at $1,000 roughly, and that's a rough estimate. That's usually tax and everything. Ballpark rough estimate of taxes and stuff. Sometimes you can find them a little bit cheaper, depending on the manufacturer, depending on how used they are, stuff like that. Lift bags are nice, but you don't have to have lift bags to search for missing people.
Right.
I mean, they're nice, but lift bags complicate a lot of things. Yes, I use them on a regular basis, but lift bags can complicate stuff. So if you don't need them, don't use them. Especially when you're dealing with limited visibility, zero visibility, because you can't see nothing. You can't control nothing. It all has to be done. They just complicate stuff. I use them. But if we can hook a record to something, we don't use them. If we can bring a boom over it and lift it with a boom, we don't put lift bags.
And then another question, not having to do with any particular case, but a drum in the water, through your research, how long will a drum stay intact underwater?
That's
If
a
it's
really
like
good
in a
question.
lake.
And that's a really good question. I'll tell you, usually what I've ran into more with barrels, with the older barrels, I found one that's been underwater for 12 years, and it was rusted and dilapidated enough to where with a little effort, I could put my fist through the side of the barrel. It wasn't completely ate out or anything like that. But what I run into is, depending on the chemical that was stored in that barrel, a lot of times the paint or that liner that was stored inside the barrel will last longer than the actual metal barrel does. And then the coatings, depending on what was stored in that barrel, for example, depending on the exterior coating of that barrel. And so if it's just a cheapo depot basic run of the mill, you're probably looking at, I mean, I don't even want to put a time frame, because I mean, there's so many factors at play with deterioration with metal in our waters. You got to keep in mind, our waters are our nastiest things, because all of our organic material just goes down and sets on the bottom. And that's where
Right.
a lot of nasty organic bacteria are. I mean, swimmer's itch is a really common thing for people to get if you swim through an algae bloom. you'll get what's known as swimmer's itch. Kind of looks like poison ivy. It'll be up and down your arm real bad. See this right here? That's kind of a start of it, of a case I'm getting. But it's called swimmer's itch. It's kind of like poison ivy. You want to itch really bad. You want to scratch it. But the more you itch it, the more you scratch it, the worse it is, the worse it gets. You're better off to ignore it. It's hard. You got to spend the first 3 or 4 days completely ignoring it. And it's hard. You just want to itch, itch, itch. But if you itch it, you make it worse. Unfortunately, I can't avoid that because I'm doing recoveries. I'm going to the very bottom because nothing stays floating. So I got to go down there in the very bottom in the organic matter, and I'm laying on it because I can't see. And so I'm laying down on my belly with it right here in my face. And every movement with my arm, I just kick up more silt and more of that organic material and matter in my face. Every time I shove my arm down in that silt, looking for something that could have sunk in that silt, even though I'm wearing wetsuits during the summertime, that mud and that silt will come in between my wetsuit and my arm. And then it just makes the swimmer's itch 1,000 times worse. Because instead of being in a small section of my arm like it is now, it'll cover my entire arm. And it will look bad, especially if I scratch it. But it's one of the many hazards with what I do. I'm probably among my friends, I'm probably a expert when it comes to swimmer's itch. last year alone, I probably had it 12 different times. I mean, and you itch it, it gets scarred up, it looks bad, it takes forever to heal.
Wow.
But yeah, that's just odd. The organic material, that's another bad thing too, because it's like I got to wear earplugs or wear a hood, because if not, you have to risk worms and little critters, little bacterias getting in your ears and getting inside your body that'll cause a sickness that you don't want, cause one that that people have been known not to survive from. And so I take safety precautions. I wear hoods. I occasionally wear earplugs. I don't recommend wearing earplugs while you're diving, but I do occasionally, depending on if I'm cleaning boats, because if I'm cleaning a boat, I'm not far below the surface, but I want to have earplugs in because there's little critters inside that algae that's on the bottom of boats. And if you're scraping it off right there, and those critters can get in your ear and cause those same things, cause you to get sick and get a bad infection and stuff you don't want to fight, stuff that can be very dangerous for your health. So what I do is I make my own swimmer's itch, and when I get out, I treat my ears with this swimmer's itch. It's a 50-50 alcohol and white vinegar combination. And I use it for multi things. I use it to wash my hands because it's just 50-50 alcohol and white vinegar. I can rinse stuff off my hands. Stuff like this, when I get out of the water, it burns like heck, but I soak that down and sanitize that and try to clean it up for as best as I can, because I can't protect it while I'm in the water. So all I can do is be proactive and try to keep it clean when I'm out of the water. And that, unfortunately, I just got to take those precautions and deal with anything as it comes. But yeah, I really wish I could spend more time searching. That's what it is. I wish I could do that. I got a big river right now that I've been eyeballing real bad, and I want to get to, and I want to get to it real bad. I will. It's just going to take me a little bit of time.
I think you will achieve your goals in time.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I really do. So
I do too. That or I'll die trying. And I don't mean that in a bad way or a depressing way or anything like that, but it's the truth. I mean, we're all gonna achieve our goals. I mean, I don't plan on retiring. I'm gonna work till the day I die. Because if I retire, I'll probably die a lot sooner. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it easier. As soon as everybody figures that out.
yeah.
Yeah, it's life. God puts me where he wants me when he wants me there.
So, Patrick, we really, really appreciate you coming on tonight. We really appreciate everything that you're doing. It's been incredible watching you and the things that you're doing, and it is very much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate everything y'all do too. Y'all brought some cases to my attention that I wasn't aware of, that I may not have been aware of if somebody didn't bring them to my attention. So, I do a lot of stuff on NamUs, and I do a lot of scanning and searching on NamUs. And what I found with NamUs, and I've wanted to comment and say this before, is what you're going to find out with 90% with NamUs. It's not the authorities. It's not the police. It's not agencies that's putting these missing people on NamUs. It's the families that's having to report their own family. And so you're going to find that there's a lot of missing people that's not even on there. I have worked a case here in this state that's on NamUs, but NamUs is false information. It don't have the correct information. I mean, there's reports on NamUs that says people's missing that's not missing with their vehicle, when in fact they're still missing with their vehicle. And then I found cases to where they claim that the vehicle was found, but there's no documentation proving that the vehicle was found for this missing person. Nobody can put a paper trail to this missing vehicle except a he said, she said. Well, where's this he said, she said? Well, they died 20 years ago, or something along those stupid lines. But all right, I can talk all night though. I appreciate y'all having me.
I can say we're on the same boat with NamUs. I'm not a big fan of them.
I mean, knock on wood, I ain't found a lot of those search engines for missing people to be very useful, because a lot of them are false information, or it's not correct information. It's you're going to find that with most of the stuff that's on those sites, only about 3/4 of it, if that much, is even correct. And some of them may be a little more than that, but you got to really do your own research.
Yeah.
But
I know there's many a nights we stay up till 2-3 in the morning going over stuff.
Yeah, it's if y'all are up, I'm a nocturnal person too. I do a lot of stuff at my shop at night, and y'all want to bounce ideas off somebody, call me, bounce them off me. I'll be more than glad to talk, shoot, conversate. Be another set of ears.
We will take you up on that. And same thing.
If y'all are in certain procedures or certain predicaments and you want to know how to best approach it or something, and it's something I can help you with, I'll be more than glad to tell you. Pits, I mean, rock pits, I've been diving a lot of them. I don't really want to say I specialize in it, but I do want to say that I have a lot of experience when it comes to diving rock pits and strip pits. Maybe another year or so, I may say I specialize in them. I got another, 400 or 500 more dives under my belt in rock pits, maybe another 1,000 dives or so under my belt in rock pits, then I may say that I'm specialized in them or something. But at that point, you can't really specialize in a pit because everyone's different.
Right.
I've dove in shell pits, I've dove in mine shafts, I've dove in coal pits, I've dove in wells to replace pumps in the bottom of wells. I've dove in big tanks, even big holding tanks on off-grid properties. And I say off-grid properties, we're talking like off-grid resorts and stuff that have like 40,000 gallon holding tanks. And somewhere in time, their maintenance guy convinced them to drain the tank and hard pump in the bottom of it. And so instead of draining them now when the pumps go out, they just hire me to come up and dive in a hole about yay big. I got to put all my gear in and everything, and then I got to climb down a ladder and get in it and get my gear on and assemble my gear and do the job, and then take all my gear apart and hand it all out piece by piece.
Oh.
And keep in mind, that's a black tank, so there's no light unless I bring the light, but it's clear water.
Oh, man.
The guy at the surface at the lid, he can stand there and watch me do the whole job because he can see my lights and everything.
Oh.
But
Well, much respect. I mean, you definitely a pro, and I thank you for everything that we talked about tonight. I really appreciate it, and you've shed some light onto some things that I've questioned and thought about. So Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I could help where I was able to help. And like I said, anything in the future, anything I can help y'all with. I mean, if y'all are in my area or close to my area, let me know. I'll be more than glad to try to come meet up with y'all and help y'all out. I mean, anything we can do to help each other out. When it all boils down to the end thing, we all have the same goal.
Yeah.
There may be more than one way to skin the cat, but we all have the same goal.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And we will definitely be taking you up on that. And vice versa, if there's ever a case or search you're doing up in our neck of the woods, give us a holler. We'd be more than happy to come out and help you out.
Will do. I mean, anytime I'm close to y'all, I'll be more than glad to let y'all know.
And guys, again,
Into a bind
That's
here
right.
in Oklahoma, I'm here.
I do want to point this out that if anybody's watching, anybody knows of any bodies of water in your state, I'm not going to say Oklahoma specifically because, I mean, I don't stay just Oklahoma. In your state, if you know where a private body of water is and you know the owners will give us access and you can go knock on their doors and the owners tell you, yes, they'll give us access to come scan it with sonar to let them know what's in the bottom. Sometimes what I find with new owners real quick too, what I find with new owners who buy new property that have these bodies of water on them, a lot of them just want to know what's down there, the new ones. But if they're old school, if they've owned that property for 100 years or something, you're not getting permission to get on it. I mean, I've tried angles. I mean, I help out with the local fire departments and stuff like that. I help them with sonar, getting more familiar with their sonar, helping them with training and stuff. I've helped a couple of our local fire departments by just simply going and laying on the bottom of the pond in 20 foot of water so they can scan me with their sonar to see what a body looks like on the bottom.
oh, wow.
You know how helpful that is for that team? That's very
Yes.
helpful because not a lot of people gets to see what a body looks like on a sonar. And when you're
Right.
like a fire department or first responding team, something like that, that has never seen a body on your sonar, you should. Whether it's a
Right.
dummy, a mannequin, you need to get something so you get familiar with what you're looking at. Because you could throw your mannequin in 5 foot from the left front of your boat, and you'll never scan it and never locate it if you don't go over the right spot.
Right.
And if you do locate it, depending on how it lands, you may have to go over it this way and this way multiple times so you can get multiple angles to figure out exactly what it is. But doing stuff as simple as volunteering my time to go lay on the bottom of a pond to do what I'm going to do anyway, to allow the local authorities to get more familiar with their sonar technology or their sonar equipment, that's very useful. And so I do stuff like that. I've even tried some of these bigger bodies of water, tried coming in with the local authorities, trying to explain to the property owners that we're wanting to get more experience for the local fire department or the local police or the local agencies who handle this kind of stuff in that area. And I've tried coming in from those angles and stuff, saying that, you know, so such and such fire department, such and such police department, such and such first responders, such and such whatever is going to be with us. We'd like to take the opportunity to use it as a training experience or a learning experience in the process of seeing what's there. And some people are all willing, yeah, come on, let's go, let's do it, let's see what's there. And then the main ones I'm trying to get access to, they don't want to give us access because, I mean, they're afraid of what's there. The property owners don't want to know what's there because they're afraid of people coming at them.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but anyways, appreciate it, gentlemen. Appreciate everything. Appreciate just being able to vent and talk about this stuff to some people, because I try to talk to my wife and my kids about it, but they say, Dad, we don't want to hear about it because we get too nervous and too worried about you.
Yeah.
My daughter's
I'm
over here shaking her head no right now. She don't like hearing about it either.
I tell you, I used to, since I'm a contract driver, and then when I do certain things, I would always set my kids down. I wouldn't always, but when there was higher risk of me not returning after the dives, I would set my kids and my wife down the night before or a couple of days before and explain to them what Dad's getting ready to go do. So that way they completely understand that if, you know, they may get a phone call that Dad's not coming home that night. And I just want them to be prepared. Well, My kids said, Dad, we're done. We don't want to hear about it no more. We don't want to stress. We don't want to worry. We don't want to nothing. Just call us when you're done diving. Let us know everything's okay and we love you. I'm like, okay, I understand. I mean, but it's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. We
Thank you all.
really appreciate it tonight, and we hope to talk to you again. So,
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we'll be talking a lot in the near future, or a lot in the future anyway.
well, thank you so
Looking forward to it.
All righty. Y'all have a great night. I guess I'm just going to hit the, what do I hit here? Leave studio.
Video
Hey,
button at the bottom.
y'all have a great one. Y'all have a
Thank
blessed
you.
one. Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good one.
I got a lot of respect for that guy.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, with that, we're going to go ahead and shut this down. 2 hours and 15 minutes. And, man, I look forward to working with Patrick, talking with Patrick, bouncing ideas off of him, teaming up on some searches. And hopefully he's not a stranger and will join us again in a future live. He's done so many great things down there in Oklahoma and other states.
Yeah. I would like, if we can get him to come back on the show again, I would like for him, if he could, to share some screenshots, examples of stuff that he has taken pictures on radar, and he can explain to us, well, of course, this is a vehicle or this is a tree. I would like, for him to share that with the audience and, show us some examples and stuff. I think that would really be pretty cool.
Mhm.
And also, if time permitting, he could go over some of his equipment and share it with us, and possibly show us exactly, because, for the people that don't know anything about diving and that have possibly always wanted to get into it, maybe have firsthand, of him showing us about some of the equipment that it takes to do it. I think that would be pretty cool too.
Right. So, guys, let's continue to go over, subscribe to his channel, follow him on social media, share his content. Let's get the word out about him, help him get his channel grown. That's going to help him be able to get out and do so much more on top of all of the numerous great things the guy has already done. So let's do everything we can to help him.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
So with that, thanks for joining us tonight. You guys have a good night. Stay safe, and we will catch you guys down the road.
Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like and share button.